When people talk about China's long game, they usually picture one thing: scale. Build more, faster, cheaper. Because underneath the scale, there is a quieter story. A story about materials. The stuff that doesn't go viral but decides who wins anyway. Now it will start making sense when I show you this graph. This line is the world accelerating into electrification. Solar, grids, EVs. The build out is huge year after year. And the other line is the constraints. China sits right at the middle of that chart. Because in 2024, China added 278 gigawatt of solar and accounted for nearly 64% of new global renewable capacity. That's not a headline, that's the gravitational force of supply chain. In today's video, we're going to explore 3 layers of China's long game. Hi, my name is Sean. Let's dive in with the first layer, the vault. Think about a country like a company. If you're thinking about quarters, you will optimize for cash flow. And if you're thinking about in decades, you optimize resilience. And that's what reserves are. They're not meant to make you rich. They're meant to make you hard to break. Now inside reserves, there is one asset that keeps showing up: monetary gold. It's literally listed as one of the reserve asset for IMF. Now watch this. The World Gold Council reported China's central bank added 0.9 tons in November 2025, pushing official gold holding to 2,305 tons. They also noted gold's share of China's total FX reserves rising from 5.5% to 8.3% November 2025, helped by continued accumulation and higher gold prices. Does that mean something dramatic overnight reset? No. It means something boring. Something real. They are shaping the balance sheet to be less fragile across the scenarios. Because reserve assets by definitions are meant to be readily available for smooth functioning of the government. This layer is the shock absorber. Quiet, heavy, and not so exciting. But when the road gets ugly, this is what keeps the vehicle from flipping. And now the question becomes, if gold is the stabilizer, what is the lever? What's the part of the system that can create instant sensitivity, pricing, lead times, and shortages without firing a single shot? And that brings us to layer 2, the bottleneck. Strip the modern economy down to its moving parts, and you keep running into one component: the high-performance magnets. Not the sexy kind, the boring kind. The kind that sits inside EVs, turbines, industrial motors, and a shocking amount of modern automations. And those magnets rely on a group of materials that sounds like a chemistry quiz, until you realize they sit inside the machines that power the future. Rare earths, especially the magnet ones like neodymium, praseodymium, dysprosium, and terbium. Now here's the key point. It's not just about mining, it's the midstream steps: separation and refining, and the downstream steps: magnet manufacturing, where concentration becomes the real weapon. One of the reports states that for rare earths used in magnets, China accounts for 60% of global mining output in 2024, but about 91% of separation and refining. And then it gets even tighter downstreams. China's share of sintered permanent magnet production has risen to 94%. And these type of magnets are known for their highest magnetic strength. Let that sink in. You can have the EV factory, you can have the solar boom, you can have the robotics. If you don't have the magnets, you cannot make any of it functioning. And when one stage is so concentrated, it doesn't guarantee a crisis. What it guarantees is sensitivity. Pricing moves faster, lead time stretch, and availability becomes a variable. One of the recent examples says that on April 2025, China introduced export control on 7 heavy rare earth elements, plus some compounds, magnets, and materials. And export volume fell sharply on April and May, while downstream manufacturers faced shortages. Again, no drama, just mechanical reality. When a part is embedded in everything, a small constraint can become a big ripple. So if you're watching the stock market, then this is why rare earths show up on margin pressure and supply chain for entire industry, not just mining stocks. It's not about who controls the most factory, it's about who controls the hard to replace inputs. Okay, now we have 2 layers covered: the vault layer, the gold, and the bottleneck layer, the rare earth. Now let's go to the loudest layer you can actually see in the real world: the factory. The factory layer is where China's long game becomes visible, because this is the layer where you can literally count. And solar is the cleanest example because this is the most copy and paste industry right now. You build a panel, then you build million more. One of the reports states that the world added around 452 gigawatt of solar in 2024. That's not niche market anymore, that's mass production. Now zoom into China. Global Energy Monitoring describes a pipeline of about 1.3 terawatts of utility-scale solar and wind, with 510 gigawatts under construction. Financial Times put it even simpler. China is building about 74% of the world's utility-scale projects under construction. Here is the point, and this is what people usually miss. When you build at that scale, you don't just consume energy, but you also consume ingredients. And one of the ingredients solar quietly eats is silver. Silver is used inside solar cells like a super efficient ink. It helps move the electricity out of the cell with low loss. Now, if you are making few panels, silver doesn't matter. But if you are building the majority of the world's panels, silver stops being a metal and starts being a constraint. And that's why the Silver Institute says the industrial silver demand hit a record 680 million ounces in 2024. When a key ingredient becomes so expensive at a massive scale, the factories do something predictable. They do cost surgery. They ask one question: how do we keep the same performance while using less of expensive ingredients? And that's exactly what we are seeing. One of the reports states the Chinese factories plans to start mass producing solar modules that shift towards copper metallization in quarter 2026, basically replacing some silver use because silver price are pressuring costs. It's not hype, that's a signal. Tells you the scale is so big, the materials are not footnote anymore, materials are product strategy. Now zoom out. Here is what actually we followed and why this matters even if you don't want to talk about geopolitics. The vault is the stabilizer. Official gold rising, share of reserve rising, shaping resilience over time. The bottleneck is the leverage. Rare earths are concentrated at the steps that matters most, especially refining and magnets. The factory is the throughput engine. Electrification scale pulls hard on input like silver and triggers substitution when cost bite. That's long game in plain sight. Stabilize, secure the choke points, scale the factory machine, all while world electrifies. Because in the next decade, the winner won't be just the companies with demand, they will be the ones who can reliably get the input when everyone else is scrambling. As always, thanks for watching my video. If you really enjoyed it, then please like, and if you like to know what's coming up next, then please subscribe. See you in the next video.